Up next, we got another interesting beer from Beer Hut. It's Intergalactic Barrel-Aged Imperial Stout. It's the right time of year for it, and that's up next. Hey, welcome back to Views on Brews. I am Brendan, and this is an interesting beer that I've been gifted again by Lars Savage. Cheers very much. Have a look at the can design there. It looks like the thrusters off a spaceship, in case you can't work out what that is. It's a bit... it's a bit of a funky can label. It's a nice little dinky 330ml can. It's from Beer Hut Brewing up in Kilkeel, County Down. What else? Let's get the beer open. Let's see what it says. You can probably hear my cat scratching around in the background. She doesn't normally get in here because I don't want her knocking over on me. Oh, Jesus. That is as full a can of beer as you are ever going to see. It is literally at the top of the can. So let me just pour this one in here. Get some of it in. We've got this really cool glass. I love this glass. It's made like it's toughened the glass. It's just a thicker glass. Bit more classier and a little bit more sturdy. It's built to last kind of glass. So really enjoying that. The glass is cold actually. The beer was pretty warm. 12% ABV. So this is going to be a sipper. So let me just give you the details on the back. Back in February this year, 2020, we brewed Interstellar, an imperial stout with masses of caramel and just a hint of salt to complement the big fudge and chocolate flavors. That sounds great. We sent it on a journey for 9 months in a freshly drained whiskey barrel. It has landed. I won't say anything about the whiskey barrel, but I do know where it came from. I'm just not sure if they want that publicly known, so I'm just going to let that go. Yeah, best before year 24. Kind of Beer Hut Brewing Company, Kilkeel, County Down. Kilkeel, Beer Hut have just been smashing it out of the park with their beers. So this is interesting because a lot of the beers I've had from them have been these soft, pillowy sort of hot bombs, juicy hot bombs. But this one is interesting. There is kind of like, it has that kind of like very sweet sort of pastry stout sort of element to the nose so far, but there's whiskey there. That's definitely what I'm getting. I think the glass is super cold, like it's fogging up. Let's have a look at it quickly. So it's thick enough, it's viscous enough that it's clinging to the side of the glass. It's giving that sort of brown tinge to it. A lot of caramel. I mean, it says fudge and chocolate, so that's similar to, you know, some of the elements you get from a pastry stout. But I don't like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of these artificial flavors in some of these pastry stouts, like the syrups they add and the chocolates they add, and I mean, it's not too bad, but when you start adding lactose in it, huge amounts of vanilla, that takes it to a whole different style of beer. And thankfully, this is not that style, so this is probably more in tune with what I prefer. A lot of mellow, smooth, warming, but not nasal burning warmth from the whiskey barrel. Vanilla, I do get vanilla. That's going to be from the oak in the barrel staves. And a decent amount of chocolate. So it pretty much is, they've described it really accurately. It's funny the way it's laced in the glass. Interesting. Anyway, cheers, sláinte, Happy New Year. It couldn't be any worse than the one we're just about to see out tonight. This is New Year's Eve, and I'm going on a bit of a dry-annuary, but we'll still be posting up videos because I've done a few and I've held them back. So cheers. Wow, it doesn't feel like 12%. Really nice, decent amount of chocolate and whiskey going together. That's unusual. Not all of these imperial stouts, these barrel-aged ones, have so much chocolate going on in the front of it. So has kind of the very fruity element that you get from coffee without it tasting like coffee, if you can understand that. I mean, coffee beans are really the fruit of the bush of the coffee. So when when I try to explain coffee, sometimes it can be strong coffee, or it can be mochaccino, or it can be espresso, it can be like mountains of coffee in it without actually having any coffee in it at all. But this seems to have like a fruitiness to it that resembles that of the coffee bean. Beautiful, mellow, like slightly bourbony type woody element to this beer, but it's very, very mellow. It's not forceful. Yeah, it doesn't. This is not. This is not a red hot, boozy, burning alcohol flavour to it. I have a feeling that the glass has cooled down the beer and sort of muted a couple of the elements of the actual base beer. But I would never have said that's 12%. A touch of spice from the whiskey. It comes across like caramel and chocolate and like the fruity element, but not the coffee element of coffee, if that makes any sense. Very nice, very enjoyable beer. Saw beer that I feel like, I'm going to drink about half this can here, but I think I'm going to let the rest of the can warm right up, take it inside with me. I mean, they do say it's supposed to be like caramel, masses of caramel. So, and salt. There is like a finish to the beer, I will say. Is there salt in it? They've got caramel in this beer and they've got kiln dried salt. The good thing about that is I get a bit suspect about adding too many adjuncts to the beer, but the caramel I get from this feels like it's not out of place in it. Doesn't feel like, someone's added a whole bunch of stuff to this. The dry kiln salt that they've put in here doesn't taste like salty. It just tastes like the beer finishes. The beer has a finish to it. It just doesn't carry on for forever and ever. And I kind of like that. Not sure I've seen that in too many barrel-aged beers. So that's interesting. And it is kiln-dried salt. Interesting, yeah. This is a very sweet but restrained sweetness to the beer. It's kind of like has elements of barrel-aged imperial stout. It has elements also of like a pastry stout, but it doesn't have that overwhelming lactose that they chuck in a pastry stout. It doesn't have that, that overbearing vanilla that you can sometimes get. And what I really like about it is the caramel comes across as not being fake. It's not too much in there. It's a shame to make a beer. You go to the trouble of making a huge mash and a big boil, that's really tough to work out and use all these different malts in it, and then after that, then you go adding flavors in on top of it. Sometimes that's cool if it's done judiciously, is the way I would put it. And I think that's what they've managed to do here. It says there's hops in it. Of course, there are to keep it from spoiling. Obviously, you don't get any of those hops. Medium mouthfeel, not in any way heavy. This is not a 12% feel to the mouthfeel. It does leave a little bit of lacing, but not as much as some of the barrel-aged beers I've had. The more it's warming up in my hand, the more caramel I get, and the more like that kind of like sweet element on the nose. I think what I'm liking in this beer, and I think a lot of breweries might have a try of this, is I think I like the salt in it. but I don't taste salt per se. I just taste that there's a clean finish to every sip that I'm having. And the barrel aging isn't like overwhelmingly spice, coconut, all those kind of like, sort of like Jack Daniels-y sort of elements that you get to some barrel aged beers. It feels more caramel and more base beer than it does that harsh boozy spiciness that you can get. I really like this beer. Very, very enjoyable. 12%. It's in the perfect size can. I'm going to share the rest of this with my wife. That's my view on this beer. Beautiful. Absolute banger. Another banger from Beer Hut up in County Down. Take a look at their beers if you haven't already. I give this one the thumbs up. Cheers, Slancher. Happy New Year. And let's hope this one's better one, hey? Cheers. Bye. And then